earlier you guys probably saw a video of me, not necessarily going off, but I wanted to give you guys the raw emotion of Dez Bryant getting cut. And I just want to let you guys know, here's a disclaimer. I am not necessarily against the cut as much as I am how the Cowboys actually handled it. I thought that the Cowboys handled it terribly. As far as them already pretty much knowing what they were going to do, and they drug it out for months. Now, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, the Cowboys, they did this, they did what they had to do. It was about money, it was a financial situation, and all of this type of stuff. Okay, you'll be able to sell that to somebody else who don't necessarily do the research on this type of stuff. But was it a money issue when they offered Sammy Watkins $16 million a year? This pretty much the same deal that they offered him in Kansas City. It was not about the money then as far as the cap goes. We were under the cap. So with Dez Bryant, I truthfully do believe that it was personal, whether it be Scott Linehan, whether it be Dak Prescott, whether it be Jason Garrett or whoever. But when I look back on the history of Garrett really being in, I guess, being an offensive coordinator or being our coach, has anybody else really noticed how there's always a mole around, right? Like there's always somebody feeding information. There's always a source in the Cowboys camp that pretty much gives away our entire plan of what we're going to do. And see, the thing about this is we're talking about accountability here, right? So if we're talking about accountability, we always hold our players accountable. The players are always held accountable. That's why they get cut. So I'm okay with it if it makes sense. If you want to cut a guy, you don't need to give me justification. You don't need to build up a case. If you want to cut him because you think we're going to be a better football team, then go ahead and cut him. The Dez Bryant cut makes a lot of sense. It makes sense as far as the money and the production. Like you're not gonna if you tell me that, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But that's not why they cut him. Because if it was about the money and production, why are we offering Sammy Watkins, somebody who didn't even produce what he produced last year, who's barely produced a Dez bad year as his best year? Why are you offering him that amount of money? So it really came down to whether or not somebody really wanted him there. And see, if there's a plan in place, you know what I'm saying? I'm all for it. If there's a plan in place, cool. We're gonna take that money. We're gonna build the defense. Okay, in the draft, we're gonna get this receiver here. We're gonna do that or whatever. And it's still a little bit early, but I'm kind of wondering what now, because we kind of showed our hand a little bit as far as the draft. Now everybody knows that we're trying to get a receiver, and based on our official visits and all of that type of stuff, now I know we're going to receiver in the first round. You can't really go guard now, because if it was about, I guess, the running game, then why do we cut a receiver, and why are we interviewing all of these receivers all of a sudden? Like, to me, I believe that the biggest problem of the offense is the offensive line, as far as, well, besides play calling, but like that left guard slot, right? So why would we cut Dez? Now we have two weaknesses. Now our receiving core needs work, and now our offensive line needs work. And see, when you had Dez as a placeholder right there, you at least had an okay to mediocre receiver group. So you could go ahead and get that guard, and then you could get a receiver later on in the draft to develop. Now that Dez Bryant's gone, we have two voids, possibly three if you're counting the tight end as well, on the offensive side of the ball, where we didn't necessarily need to create that void. But it is what it is. If there's a plan in place, I'm with it. I'm a Cowboys fan. Through thick and thin, I've seen worse. Emmitt Smith was my favorite player ever. He's gone. Troy Aikman got cut. Romo got cut. Hell, I wasn't even born yet, I don't think, and Landry got fired. You know what I mean? Jerry Jones fired Landry. So, I mean, it's part of the game, so I understand that. But what part of the game is having moles and sources and discrediting guys? Like, whatever happened to just cutting a guy because he wasn't good enough? Like, why do you have to cut a guy and then say, oh, well, he missed practice, he did that, a source said he didn't go to therapy and all this stuff? Like, see, now you're slandering. And see, that leads me to my next point of why I think we're a bad organization. We're a bad organization because headlines come before football. The reason that I say that is with Dez Bryant, they could have made this. They could have made this move a month ago, but because of the headlines and the attention and all of that type of stuff, we dragged that out. We dragged that man for a month, knowing that they were gonna cut him, and then they make the move today. Now I'm like, if it was about football and it was about moving forward, like, and you could say that they were using it as a smokescreen, but I don't know if I'm buying it, man. I think that they knew all along that they were going to go ahead and make that move. I think that I kind of hinted at it throughout the whole time that they were going to make the move, but I think that it was poorly handled, and I think that we're probably the worst at handling situations like this. But it is what it is. I hope that they have a plan in place because now the draft shifts to where, you know, we were talking about maybe a linebacker or guard or, I mean, my man Clarence has been saying receiver the whole time. So I'm kind of inclined to believe that the receiver is a priority to this team now. They've made receiver more valuable than what it really has to be now that they've cut Dez Bryant. As funny as it sounds, they made it so that they, like, the way that they've been moving this offseason, they've made it seem as if the receiving core is why we went 9-7. Not that we weren't healthy on the line, not that our defense struggled without Sean Lee in there, but they made it all about Dez Bryant this offseason. And I'm not with him being a scapegoat. Now, if you want to say his production sucks, his skill level won't get any better, his physically he won't get any better. Okay, you can argue that all day, but as far as being a scapegoat, as far as it being all his fault, you won't sell me on that. The coaching staff who wanted him gone has now bought themselves some more time. But what I will tell you is this: if they aren't on the hot seat, they should be on the hot seat right now because you got what you wanted. You got Dez out, so let's see what you do now. If the offense, if the offense is good, you guys are good. And same thing with Dak Prescott, because I have a hard time believing that Dak Prescott didn't want Dez gone. I kind of believe, I'm inclined to believe that Dak Prescott, if he said he wanted to keep Dez around, he could have kept Dez around because he's the quarterback now. This is his team. So a lot of pressure's on Dak Prescott now to see what he's going to do now that you no longer have the Dez monkey on your back. So we'll see, man. I hope that you guys like my logical video a little bit more. But as far as what we're going to do for the draft, I had somebody ask me that question. At this point, I'm not sure, but I do know that receiver is a priority, or they're treating it as a priority now more than ever. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit that bell. And to be honest with you, if you don't like what I'm saying, that's cool too. I mean, we're going to all disagree, but at the end of the day, it's all go Cowboys, all right? Peace.